It happens at 6:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're mid-sentence in a conversation when every light in your house dies at once. Not a flicker, not a fade, just instant, absolute darkness. The refrigerator's hum stops so abruptly that the silence feels like pressure against your eardrums. Your TV screen goes black. The microwave clock vanishes. Even the little LED on your phone charger winks out. For one breathless second, you think it's just a circuit breaker. Then you notice your phone has no signal, no bars, no data. Just two words that make your stomach drop. No service. That's when you know this isn't a normal blackout. This is something that rewrites the rules of your reality in a single instant. When the power goes out during World War III, it's not just electricity that disappears. It's the invisible architecture of modern civilization, the digital scaffolding that holds your entire world together. And what you notice first isn't the darkness. It's the silence that follows. The kind of silence that makes you realize you've never actually heard true quiet in your adult life. Today I'm walking you through exactly what happens when the grid goes down during wartime. Not the Hollywood version with dramatic explosions and heroic speeches. The real version. The one where you're standing in your kitchen and suddenly every system you depend on just stops. Because here's what nobody tells you about modern warfare. The first weapon isn't a bomb. It's the switch that turns off your world. The power cuts out at exactly 6:17 p.m. You check your watch, an old analog one your grandfather gave you, and you'll remember this time for the rest of your life. Everything electronic dies simultaneously, not piece by piece, all at once. The first thing you actually notice isn't darkness, it's sound, or rather, the complete absence of sound that you never knew existed. The electric hum that fills every corner of every modern building vanishes like someone pulled a plug on reality itself. Your refrigerator stops its constant low buzz. The air conditioning unit goes silent mid-cycle. The barely audible whir of your computer fans cuts out. Even the high-pitched tone that some electronics make, the one you can't quite hear but can somehow sense, disappears completely. For the first time since childhood, you experience true mechanical silence. It's disorienting. Your brain keeps waiting for the background noise to return, but it never does. You reach for your phone instinctively. The screen lights up, burning through precious battery life, but there's nothing. No signal bars, no carrier name. Just no service, in letters that suddenly feel like an epitaph for the connected world. You try to remember the last time you saw those words, maybe in a remote canyon or an elevator. Never in your living room, never everywhere at once. That's when the first wave of understanding hits you. This isn't just your house. This isn't your neighborhood. The cell towers are down too. All of them. You walk to the window and pull back the curtain. The street lights are dead. Every house on your block sits in darkness. No traffic lights glow at the intersection. The digital billboard 2 blocks away that usually advertises car dealerships and personal injury lawyers is just a black rectangle against the twilight sky. You can see farther than you've ever seen into the city because all the light pollution has vanished. It's beautiful and wrong at the same time. It's 6:19 p.m. now, 2 minutes since the world changed. You can see your neighbors starting to emerge from their houses, standing in driveways, looking around with confused expressions that probably mirror your own. Everyone is holding their phones. Everyone is checking. Everyone is getting the same message. Nothing. No service. No data. No connection to the vast digital network that has defined human communication for the past 30 years. That's when you realize you're witnessing something that hasn't happened in modern America. A complete communication blackout during what might be the opening moves of World War III. 6 minutes into the blackout, something unexpected happens. The panic you anticipated doesn't come. Instead, an odd calm settles over your street. People drift toward each other, starting conversations with neighbors they haven't spoken to in months. Kids who normally stay glued to screens are outside, looking around with curiosity rather than fear. For a brief, strange moment, it almost feels peaceful, like a block party that nobody planned. But underneath that calm, you start noticing details that make your skin crawl. The silence is wrong, not just quiet. Wrong. You live 3 miles from a major interstate, but you can't hear traffic. The constant white noise of rubber on asphalt that you've tuned out for years has vanished. You're used to hearing airplanes every 20 minutes, their engines drawing lines across the sky. Now the sky is empty. Even the emergency sirens that punctuate city life have stopped. It's like someone hit the mute button on civilization itself. You try your landline, if you still have one, dead. No dial tone. Just empty static that sounds like the void. You walk to your car and try the radio, hoping for news or emergency broadcasts. Static on every frequency except one. There, faint and automated, a voice repeats the same message every 30 seconds. This is the emergency alert system. Please remain calm. Stay in your homes. Await further instructions. No explanation. No details. Just that robotic voice telling you to wait. But wait for what? How long? And why? That's when you start noticing the neighbors who aren't outside chatting, the ones who immediately went back inside and locked their doors. The retired Marine down the street is moving with purpose, not confusion. He's not looking around like everyone else. He's looking up at the sky. You follow his gaze but see nothing unusual. Just empty blue sky where passenger jets should be drawing contrails. And that's when it hits you. When was the last time you saw a completely empty sky? Even during the COVID lockdowns, there were still cargo flights, medical transports, military aircraft. Now there's nothing. Just silence and emptiness that extends in every direction. Your phone buzzes once. Hope surges through you, but it's just the battery warning. 20% left. No way to charge it. You start doing mental math. If this lasts more than 6 hours, your phone will be dead. If it lasts more than a day, your car will be the only way to get information. If it lasts more than a week, you force yourself to stop that line of thinking because it leads nowhere good. Instead, you focus on what you can control. You go back inside and check your supplies. Flashlights, battery-powered radio, emergency kit. You're proud of yourself for being prepared until you actually inventory what you have. 3 days of food, maybe 4 if you ration. 2 cases of water, a first aid kit that's probably expired. 3 days seemed like plenty when you were preparing for hurricanes or winter storms. For World War III, it feels pathetically inadequate. You realize with sudden clarity that you've been preparing for inconveniences, not catastrophes. For delays, not collapse. The difference between those two things is becoming clearer with every passing minute. 1 hour into the blackout, the neighborly conversations start getting tense. Someone mentions they heard explosions earlier, around 5 p.m., but didn't think much of it. Someone else says their brother works at the Air Force base and hasn't come home from his shift. A third person whispers that they saw military convoys on the highway right before the power went out. These aren't facts, they're fragments, anxious speculation, rumors building on rumors. But they're all pointing in the same direction. This isn't an accident. This isn't a technical failure. Someone did this. The question is who and why and what comes next. The comm starts cracking. A few people get in their cars and try to drive toward downtown, hoping to find answers or working cell towers or some authority figure who can explain what's happening. They come back within 15 minutes reporting that traffic lights are dead and intersections are chaos. Other drivers are getting aggressive. Road rage without rules. One person mentioned seeing a 3-car accident with no police response. Another says they saw people loading shopping carts from a convenience store while the owner stood outside, helpless. That's when you notice the first sign of what's coming. People are starting to hoard. Mrs. Henderson from 3 Houses Down makes a casual comment about having enough canned food to last her family a week. The response from other neighbors isn't relief or congratulations. It's calculation. You can see people doing the math, figuring out who has what, whether they'll need to ask for help later or take it. The social contract that governs suburban life is already starting to fray, and it's only been an hour. But the scariest part isn't what people are saying. It's what they're not saying. Nobody wants to speak out loud the possibility that this is an attack. Nobody wants to be the first person to say the words nuclear or EMP or World War III, because saying it makes it real. So instead, people make plans for when the power comes back. They talk about generators and emergency services and how the government will fix everything soon. But you can see the fear in their eyes, the same fear you feel in your chest, because deep down everyone knows that normal electrical outages don't shut down cell towers across hundreds of miles. Normal blackouts don't kill car radios. Normal emergencies don't create this kind of complete communications void. You go back inside and try to make a real inventory. Not just food and water, but everything. Candles, batteries, matches, medications, first aid supplies, tools. You realize you have about a dozen candles, maybe 40 hours of battery life across all your devices, and enough prescription medication for 10 days. It's not enough. Nothing feels like enough for something this big. That's when you hear the first gunshot. It's distant, maybe half a mile away. Could be someone hunting. Could be someone target practicing in their backyard. Could be something worse. 5 minutes later, you hear another one. Closer this time. Maybe 3 blocks away. Your neighbors hear it, too. The outdoor conversations get quieter. People start drifting back toward their front doors instead of standing in driveways. By the end of the first hour, most people have gone inside. The brief moment of community cooperation is over. Now it's every family for themselves. And you still have no idea what caused any of this. You still don't know if this is regional or national or global. You don't know if help is coming. You don't know if there's anyone left to send it. 2 hours into the blackout, your phone dies. That last connection to the digital world, even though it wasn't working, is gone. The psychological impact is bigger than you expected. Holding a dead phone feels like holding a piece of your old life. The life that existed this morning but might never come back. You light candles and try to make dinner using whatever doesn't require electricity. Peanut butter sandwiches by candlelight. It would be romantic if it weren't terrifying. Outside, the first fires start. Not house fires. Cooking fires. People are figuring out how to prepare food without power. Some are using gas grills. Others are trying to build fire pits in their backyards. A few are burning furniture in metal trash cans, trying to stay warm as the temperature drops. As the sun goes down completely, the smell of wood smoke fills the air. It's not unpleasant, but it's wrong for your suburban neighborhood. It smells like camping, like primitive times, like the past. By hour 3, you start hearing vehicles. Not normal traffic, emergency vehicles with sirens. Military trucks with diesel engines that sound different from civilian cars. Helicopters passing overhead, some of them staying in the area long enough to suggest they're not just passing through. They're searching for something, or guarding something. The automated radio message changes. Remain in your homes. Do not attempt to travel. Emergency services are responding to the situation. More information will be provided when available. When available. Not when it's safe to share, not when they figure out what happened. When it's available, like they don't know either. Or they know but can't tell you. Hour 4 brings the first real test of community cooperation. A family 2 streets over has a medical emergency. Someone with diabetes who needs insulin that requires refrigeration. They're going door to door asking if anyone has a generator or ice. Most people want to help. You want to help. But everyone is starting to calculate resources. How much can you share before you put your own family at risk? How much medicine can you spare? How much food? How much water? These are decisions people have never had to make in modern America. Decisions that feel impossible because every choice seems wrong. Some families share everything they can. Others politely decline, citing their own needs. A few don't even answer their doors. You can hear the desperation in the voices of the family asking for help. You can also hear the fear in the voices of those who refuse. There's no right answer, which makes every decision feel like a moral failure. You give them half your ice, knowing it might not be enough, knowing you might regret it later, but unable to say no to a neighbor in crisis. By hour 6, as darkness falls completely, you realize something profound. This is your new normal, not temporarily, not until help arrives. This is just how life works now. No electricity, no internet, no easy communication, no clear information about what's happening beyond your immediate neighborhood. You've gone back in time 70 years in the space of a single evening. The modern world didn't end with a bang. It ended with a click, the sound of a switch turning off. And still, nobody knows why. Night falls and your neighborhood transforms into something medieval. Without street lights, without porch lights, without the glow from windows, it becomes impossibly dark. The kind of darkness that makes you understand why humans spent most of history afraid of the night. You can see stars that have been invisible for your entire life, hidden by light pollution. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of light. It's breathtakingly beautiful and absolutely terrifying. Beautiful, because you've never seen the universe this clearly. Terrifying, because it means all the light that normally shields you from the darkness is gone. The sounds change too. Without the constant hum of electrical systems, you can hear things that have always been there, but masked by modern noise. Dogs barking miles away. Conversations from houses hundreds of yards distant. The wind moving through trees you never noticed, and other sounds. Vehicles moving without headlights. Footsteps on pavement that seem too deliberate. Voices that stop abruptly when they realize how far sound carries in the new silence. Some neighbors organize watch schedules, 2-hour shifts. Someone awake at all times. Others barricade their doors and windows with furniture. Everyone is making choices based on incomplete information and pure instinct. You try to sleep, but can't. Not just because of the situation, because of the silence. Your brain keeps waiting for familiar sounds that never come. The refrigerator cycling on, the neighbor's TV through the wall. Traffic on distant highways. Instead, you hear new sounds. Generators running in the distance until they sputter and die as fuel runs out. Occasional gunshots, closer now, forming a pattern. Sirens from emergency vehicles that seem to be everywhere and nowhere at once. Around midnight, you hear something that makes your blood run cold. Organized movement, not random people wandering around. Coordinated footsteps, multiple vehicles moving together. Voices using what sounds like radio communication, military, police, or something worse. You can't tell, and that uncertainty is paralyzing. In the old world, you would check social media, call 911, turn on the news. Now you just have to listen and guess and hope. You peek through your curtains and see shadows moving down your street. Flashlights sweeping across houses. You hold your breath until they pass. The next morning brings news that changes everything. Your battery-powered radio crackles to life at dawn with an official announcement. Multiple coordinated attacks on power infrastructure across 17 states. Federal authorities confirm this was not an accident. Restoration efforts are underway but timeline unknown. Martial law has been declared in affected areas. Citizens must remain in homes except for emergency medical situations. Violators will be detained. Further updates to follow. 17 states, coordinated attacks, martial law. The words hit you like physical blows. This isn't a technical failure. This isn't a natural disaster. Someone did this deliberately. Someone wanted to push America back into the pre-electrical age, and they succeeded. You look out your window at neighbors who are hearing the same news. Some are crying, others look angry. A few seem almost relieved to finally have confirmation of what they suspected. But everyone looks different than they did 18 hours ago, changed. Like they've been forced to grow up in ways they weren't prepared for. Because in less than a day, you've learned something that most Americans have never had to face. How quickly the modern world can disappear. How thin the line is between civilization and chaos. How much of your daily life depends on systems that can be destroyed by people you'll never see for reasons you may never fully understand